Okay, folks, welcome to Team Talk. This is Martin Canham here. I'm the Chief Delivery Officer for Rev1. And for all the OGs out there with commissioning Team Talk, we've changed the platform. It was a podcast, and now we've changed the format to a video cast now. So in each episode, we will be bringing you an inspiring person or a technique that will help you improve in the world of commissioning, what's working and what's not. And today, very excited to interview Tony Davies. Tony is a consultant, a long-time friend and colleague. And Tony is the author of this work here, which is the Handbook for Commissioning Managers in Greenfield Construction Projects. Please stick around to the end because we've got a very interesting interview here and a competition where you could win a signed copy of the book. So congratulations on the book, Tony, and welcome to Team Talk.
Hi, thanks, Martin. It's great to be here.
So you need no introduction, Tony, to the major project fraternity here, but for our LinkedIn friends, maybe you could give us a quick bio.
Sure, Martin. It's, well, as you know, I've been in the business for about 50 years. Started out with a 5-year apprenticeship in the chemical industry in the late 60s. The next 5 years in maintenance of chemical plants before moving into the offshore energy business, and that was in the mid-70s. Initially, it was in the areas of construction, pre-commissioning and hookup, and then that led to commissioning and startup of new plants. In terms of the qualifications, I managed to get a BA in technology, and what I did after that was progressed into engineering and management, and then spent 30 years working on new major projects, both on land and offshore around the globe.
Yep. Well, I know we were colleagues back in, what was it, 04, 05 at QEDI, where you were responsible for putting all the technology together and the techniques for commissioning. So happy days there.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we worked together until we sold to an EPC in 2011. That's when I started consulting.
That's right. Well, again, Tony, congratulations on putting a major piece of work together. You know, we recognise that there's been a gap in the market for this whole knowledge on major projects, and it looks like you've come up and you've filled that gap, which is very, very commendable. So, first question, Tony, what was the inspiration behind the book?
Yeah, it's I completed one of Thomas Dunkel's commissioning courses some years ago. One of the modules that was in there, it dealt with what he called the laws of leadership, and particularly what as a leader, what you as a leader would leave as a legacy for successive leaders to remember you by, and that's always lodged in my mind. So that was the inspiration for this.
Brilliant, yeah. So you're using all that experience and all your major project experience, and you've actually encapsulated it in a book for future generations. So yeah. There's been a few books on commissioning over the years, but did you refer to any of those, or is this completely from your own experience?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen technical commissioning project management publications, courses that explain how to deal and how to execute commissioning, but I'm not really seeing too many publications that actually deal specifically with commissioning management on major projects, and that's really, hence this handbook.
Now, like it says on the front cover, it's for commissioning managers, but I'm reading it a few times here. There's some really solid information there that could go to a wider audience. Is the hope that it actually reaches the project management and the project directors and other people rather than just the commissioning manager?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, although it's structured primarily for new and aspiring commission managers, the way I developed it was so that other engineers, other managers who are not part of the commissioning fraternity could get an insight into how important it is to control the commissioning activities, both on schedule and quality, if you want to get an on-time startup with no issues on operations beyond that.
Yeah. This is the blueprint for everybody now to achieve that. So
yeah.
So yeah, when I first flicked open the first page there and I saw the cartoon, it made me smile there. It's a great way to start the book off in a kind of fun way, but with a serious intent. Can you just explain to the viewers?
Yeah.
What
Yeah. When I saw that cartoon some years ago, I mean, it really struck a chord because I've actually been in that situation a number of times. There was one project came to mind particularly where I was part of a tender evaluation for a major project, and what we did was invite fabricators to come in and tell us how they're going to deliver the project. And I remember from those meetings that we were in a huge meeting room, and the fabricators put up around the walls all the plans for delivery. There's probably 200 of these plans, and going all around the room, from design through fabrication, through construction, through installation, integration, how they're going to do all of that. And in the final document, the final piece of paper right at the end, there was a single bar for commissioning and another one for startup.
Yeah.
And that was only in the noughties, which wasn't really that long ago. So that sort of mindset, although it's starting to go down, it's still there, it's still out there. People still think that way, that commissioning is just a bar at the end. It's not. We know that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And just, I know we've had a career of writing commissioning procedures and getting documents and deliverables out, but just, how I'm interested in how this was different from that. What was your writing process, and what did your day look like putting all this together, Tony? Can you talk to that?
Yeah. Well, what happened was it was between probably the end of 2020 and the middle of 21, where I was preparing a bunch of quality management system procedures for consultancy completions, pre-commissioning, commissioning, startup, for a client here in Aberdeen. And it was when I was putting these together, when I was generating these, that it dawned on me that what I was actually doing could easily form the basis of a document that I could develop further and turn into a book for commissioning managers on major greenfield projects. So with that in mind, when putting working examples, management tools, tips, and sample templates, I prepared the book during the third and fourth quarters of 2021, when we were in lockdown in the UK. So right. a good project.
Good project for the lockdown. Usually when we're writing these documents and deliverables, it's the last few percent that's the difficult. What did you find is the most difficult part of the writing process, Tony, on this book?
Yeah, I mean, the content part of it was fairly straightforward.
The easy bit, was it?
Well, yeah, I would say, because it was similar to how you put together, technical documents, presentations, and so on. But the difficult part of it was trying to get the correct format to turn it into an ebook, and then ultimately a hard version of the handbook.
So one thing that really struck me about the book was the structure. Some thought's gone into that. You split it into 4 chunks, really, 4 parts. Maybe you could just quickly kind of talk through those parts and why you chose them.
Okay. Yeah. Part 1. That's the glossary. So that's the it's the general introduction to describe what is a greenfield project, the definition of the project, explain how the document is structured, go through the key technology that's used by the commissioning group, because that tends to differ somewhat depending which client and which projects you're on, and then how to the process of handing over work from one department to the next.
Right.
So that's part 1.
That's the ground. That's really setting the ground rules.
Yeah, that's right.
A
Yeah.
common understanding, which is often a problem. Everybody's got a different interpretation. You're making it very clear what these ground rules are before we kick off. So,
That's right.
okay.
Yeah. Part two, that was a model. So what I wanted to do here was to be able to illustrate the timeline and structure for a major greenfield. So I thought it would be easier for everyone to follow if I just took a model project, describe what happens in each of the main phases, how the commissioning fits in with the phases, and before going into the detail of the commissioning activities and how to manage them. Part three, that was to try and convey what the major elements of the work within each of the phases was going to be. So there's six elements. One is for setting the strategy, and that really covers the activities during conceptual design and feed, front-end engineering design. And that then defines how the commission is going to be managed, prepared, and executed. The next part of it is stage preparation. And that's in terms of preparing all the procedures, plans, work packages to execute the commissioning activities. Depending upon the size and the timing of the phases of the project, and also the release of engineering deliverables, I mean, that really determines the timing. So the stage preparation, it can, if you need it, be broken into more than one stage, and then you'll optimize your personnel cost and performance. Within the preparation phase, you've also got things like factory acceptance testing, system integration testing, and the like. The next part deals with completions itself. So that's the initial field mobilization for the inspections and checks once construction is finished. The next part is on pre-commissioning. So that's the testing of the components and then the preparation of the systems in readiness for commissioning. The commissioning phase, that's the energizing, dynamic testing, plant and systems, and that proves the operation prior to the startup. And then the final stage is the startup and initial operation. So that's getting the project online, taking the facility up to its design operating conditions in a controlled manner. And finally, the handover, the final handover. So that's once you've got the plant up and running, doing the tuning, the debugging, optimizing the performance to get it into a stable and continuous operation. So it's the main body of the document. It describes in detail all these activities to be managed and executed. Part four, the glossary of that. That's a model. It's a manning profile that I put together for a major project. And the model that I chose is probably a 5-year project. And so I thought that it would be useful to show a chart that gives a typical manning profile and show you the gradual build-up and then the eventual demobilization profile of commissioning personnel that you would be expected to be required for a project like that.
Sure. So the handbook really covers everything from strategy right the way through to handover and everything in between.
Yeah.
How do you recommend people actually use the handbook? And what's the most important part, would you say?
I would say that the most important part of it is the commissioning process plan, and that's it's a 2-page spreadsheet. It's given as a figure 4 in the review section. It's the most important reference in the handbook, and what that is, it gives you the checklist of everything that the commissioning manager needs to address and accomplish for a successful project.
Yeah. Okay, great. Now, over the years you've been in business on major projects, what's changed and what influenced the handbook content?
Yeah, lots. I mean, the technology since the 70s, it's changed drastically.
Yeah.
And back then, there was no such thing as a personal computer, and internet wasn't even invented. Whereas these days, we've got electronic systems that can schedule, log, manage all the progress in minutes. And previously, people would take weeks or months to manage. So, I mean, the internet and the availability of facilities for mass electronic information storage, it's made a huge difference, because that means that the same information is it's available in project location.
Sure.
Especially where we've got these major projects that are being built in many overseas locations. So if you've got the same information in every location, it's a lot easier to manage than it used to be.
So you've drawn from best practice from experience and projects. What would you consider, is that best practice? What elements have you used in the handbook, Tony?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's really where projects. People make good projects, and
right.
It's where you've got good teamwork. If you've got good teamwork, then it really works best. There's nothing more depressing or disheartening being on a project where you're in a constant state of conflict, either within your own department or between departments. One of the best projects that I ever worked on was what was termed an alliance project, and that was offshore Australia. Every one of the companies involved was on this alliance situation. So you had the client, the designer, the constructor, the commissioner, and by getting the project delivered on time and under budget, what it meant was that you stood to gain a bonus from that. So everybody worked together because obviously everybody wants to make money. Everybody wants to look good. And there's a good bit of competition that goes on with it all as well between the departments. So I mean, the end result of that was that the plant did start up ahead of both time and budget. So everybody benefited from that, and everyone was really, really happy. And that's probably the best job I've ever been on. It's a
Brilliant
alliance project.
Yeah, sure. I've got a special question here from a mutual friend, Bill. He's saying, as costs are so important on today's mega projects, what are your recommendations for a robust estimating of hours for commissioning using norms or shifts for days?
Yeah, no, I've been speaking to Bill about this one since then. And, I mean, it's always a tricky subject. Commissioning can really go off track if the unexpected happens, which quite often does. So things like equipment failure, utilities not being available, the sequencing is not right, there's tuning problems, there's third-party failures, all of these things. So you can't really use norms for commissioning activities, or if you did, it would be very, very risky.
Sure.
I mean, personally, I prefer to estimate commissioning activities using manpowers and days, and based on experience in those areas.
Sure.
However, in terms of completions and pre-commissioning, that is probably a lot easier, because I'm a lot more relaxed in using those there, because there's really very little risk involved.
Talking about lessons learned, we all have lessons learned at the end of every project. What's your recommendations for getting those lessons, capturing them, and putting them back into the commissioning process to kind of optimize it?
Yeah. Well, in the latest version of the handbook, there's now a section on lessons learned with the flow chart.
Right.
The difficulty that I've found in the ownership of these, there really needs to be a central repository for them, and it's fairly easy for clients to manage for their own projects because they've got all of that information. But
sure.
if you're a contractor, then it's really down to contractor representative on that particular project to collect information, and then for the contracting company to own it and maintain it in their own database.
Yes.
And I mean, I actually did this for a number of years with a contracting company some years ago. It did work well, but it does need time and resources, and that all costs money. You know, these days that's all very important. But yeah, it can be done.
Okay, getting towards the end of the questions here, but you know, what's the section of the book that the handbook that you're most proud about?
Well, I would say the summary.
Yeah.
It's a set of quick start instructions that explains to the reader how he can become a successful commissioning manager on a major Greenfield project.
Okay, Tony. Well, let's tell everybody about the competition. Do you want to mention what the competition is?
Okay, so we've put a question together, and the question to everybody is how would you like to see commissioning evolve and improve over the next 5 to 10 years? And then if you put your answers in the LinkedIn comments, and then Martin and myself will select the winner, and then you'll receive a signed copy of the handbook.
Wow. Signed copy of this, guys, will be coming your way to the lucky winner. So, Tony, importantly, where can people get their hands on a copy of the handbook?
Okay, well, the handbook is almost it's in its final revision at the moment. It came back from the publishers yesterday. I'm just going through it today.
Actually, guys, at the time of airing, it'll probably be in the bookstores. So we'll put a sequel to this, and we'll tell everybody how to get their copy. Yeah.
Yep.
That's great. So one last question, Tony. Now you've been through this process, will there be a sequel?
I mean, we talked about the estimating of completions and commissioning activities, because there seems to be, you know, a lot of interest in that area. And yeah, I mean, I can appreciate that. So if I'm going to do anything else, it's going to be related to that, and it will deal with completions, pre-commissioning, and commissioning.
Excellent.
And maybe give some guidelines, which I don't see guidelines available unless you've been on the project and been through it. So
yeah.
I'll see what I can do.
That was great, Tony. Thanks a lot for your time today. Well, there you have it, folks. There's the book. It's a real must-have for any commissioning manager or aspiring commissioning manager, or somebody that wants to get into commissioning that's tapping into, as Tony says, 50 years of experience, all condensed in this handbook. So again, Tony, thank you very much for your time. Really enjoyed that. And we look forward to talking to you in the future.
Yeah, always a pleasure, Martin. Always a pleasure to talk about one of my favorite subjects. So thanks for the opportunity.
Great. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye for now.